Welcome to Coach Focused. Today, I'm really excited to have a friend and neighbor, Morgan Rich, from just down the street from me.
Yeah.
So we actually had a lot of trouble setting up Blab today. We could have much easier just walked and talked to each other. But now we are live on Blab, and Morgan is a coach for teenagers, and he uses video in his practice. And this is going to be a quick Blab today. So we're talking about 10 minutes. But Morgan, if you just want to tell us a little bit about your practice, about Play Huge, kind of what you do.
Yeah, sure. So thanks so much for having me. Appreciate your working on the video. So I hang out with teenagers, and really the thing that I aim for is what I call is not getting trapped in what I call sort of the trance of the modern world, in the sense of like a lot of young people wander off and end up in the place of like, what do I want to do with my life? And like, what am I passionate about? What do I care about? And there are these really sort of big, important questions. But what we do is we end up often compromising on the answer because there's like pressure to go to the right school, or you have to make a decision. And a lot of people end up in places where they actually aren't connected to who they are and what they want. And so what I want to do is really like wake up the aliveness and the passion in young people, and then also like help parents be on board with that, because oftentimes what ends up happening is that the teens end up in places where it's uncomfortable, like we got to go into the difficulty and the tough stuff, of like not knowing, and like the sort of ugliness of being confused and make some hard choices, but really like it's wanting to engage that like aliveness and what I call like the vitality in us, so that then we can go and like take our life on and not constantly compromise or feel like we're not getting the thing that we actually want. So it's like a fight for that thing that comes alive in adolescence. So it's like we got to pay attention to that and bring it alive and get into the sloppiness is what I love.
Definitely. Well, you kind of mentioned that, and I was thinking, potentially what what a teenager, what might be the thing that's inside them might be an unconventional path. Like my parents were pretty excited that I was going to college, that my sister went to college, and I went out and I got a job within, 2 months and started the corporate ladder. And then not so excited when it just kind of like got a little off track. And I've turned to something like this where I'm an entrepreneur. So yeah, how does that go with kids? And because you're a paid coach. So
right.
The parents are probably financially invested in you. Yeah, what if it's like, oh yeah, your kid wants to, take a year off and travel the world. And they're like, well, wait, what? I thought you were going to tell them to go to college.
Right. Yeah. And I try to be really clear up front that I'm like, that I'm not like an academic coach guy and not like championing college. Not to say that college isn't a good choice in some ways, but if we're going to go that direction, let's not go because there's nothing else to do. Let's not go because that's the default mechanism. Let's go because we know college is an awesome place if you are like driven and passionate and know what you want and how you want to get there.
Yeah.
I would say college is not a good place to figure out who you are and what you want to do. A lot of people use it as that, and that's kind of the default mechanism of that. But and some people have success. There's definitely folks who have had fabulous experiences in that way. And it's unusual. Just look at the college dropout rates. That I just saw a thing: 54% of entering freshmen, 54% don't finish within 6 years. That is a huge number. I think colleges are going to have to start to pay attention to this. But I also want to hit your question, which is like, so how do so I try to be upfront with parents, and just say like, look, what we're after is the aliveness and the vitality and the like energy of young people. And so like when you find real happiness is when you get into the messiness and difficulty and the beauty and the like wonder of life. So like we aren't headed for grades and like surface level crap. What we're headed for is like aliveness. And like I think once I like wake that up, often the parents are relieved. Actually, they're like, thank God. Like they're sort of trapped in it.
Right.
And say like, what, it's okay to find an alternative path. And especially in the world today, like there's so, it's happening. Like more and more parent families are going to community college and like saying, why would I pay thousands of dollars, when I can get credits for like this amount and then transfer if I need to transfer kind of thing. So there's a shift. And And so I'm just trying to bring like a voice and just say like, you know what, if you want to go down that track, awesome. Here's other folks who do that. That's not my game.
Yep. Yeah. And that's great because I think that things seem to be changing, that there's a lot more entrepreneurs out there than there used to be. I go to a coffee shop in Portland and, it's just full of people working. So they're definitely not on the normal path, especially here in Portland. So are your clients, more here in Portland, more other places? Because I want to talk a little bit about video. Tell us a little bit.
It's a great question. I have clients all over the country. I even was working with someone in England recently and almost in Australia. But so I do a fair amount of Skyping with clients, and it's probably not quite as like powerful as having people in person where I can be with them and we can just work together. There's a more organic part of that I definitely like. But on Skype, it's been great. I mean, it's allowed me to connect to people. Again, all over the country and at different times and different ways. And so there's that element of the video that I definitely use. Then there's also, an element of just using YouTube or like conveying messages like this. Like, I think part of the thing that sells and the thing for me about my work is like, I'm so passionate about it and I'm like just really, really committed to it, which for me is hard to write. You know, like writing an email or a newsletter or a I do that stuff, but like it's hard for me to convey the passion and the engagement that I really feel about it. So the video allows me to then sort of step into that and people can see, okay, here's who this guy is and what he's actually really about.
Yeah. And I would think also, I went through some of your blog posts had clips from other YouTube channels. Because I think your clientele, at least the kids, they communicate via video. And so they're probably very comfortable on Skype. They're probably less comfortable on the phone than they are on Skype. So I could see you like doing text message coaching or something. Where
I do that. Like, I mean, with all my clients, like it's not just a once a week, like, great, we're going to have like a therapy session kind of thing. It's a lot different than that from my eyes, in the sense of like, yes, we have those, but then also like I'm in touch consistently throughout the week of saying like, oh, how did it go? You were going to ask her out yesterday, or like, you had a test yesterday, or like, oh, you know what? I know that you were going to say something to the, whatever, like, and just checking in and just saying like, hey, I'm here. And really like them learning how to communicate is. Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of, it's like the technology piece is very, very helpful. And we got to make sure young people are like actually learning how to have even a conversation like this.
Right.
It's a lost art, which just scares the hell out of me, frankly.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you're kind of like, you have to have one foot in both worlds kind of, and help them to kind of move into, the other world, but also probably, I mean, you could possibly help their parents move into their world in terms of, text message. I mean, I'm sure most people probably text their kids more than they talk to them these days. It's kind of, but at least they're talking. Right. So, so you're doing YouTube videos. So you kind of, just like your advice out there to the world, is that kind of?
Yeah, just like and just like ways to say, like, again, it's a little bit of an alternative message in the sense of like, I'm not saying like college is the only way to go. It's like that's the way you got to go, and we got to force these kids to work harder and study more, and I don't do that. So to be able to use video to convey and really like, I mean, oftentimes when people watch the videos I do, or like they get in touch with me with like great relief of like, wow. Thank you for just the perspective, and just like it just like shifts them out of this, like, again, like out of a trance in a certain way of like, oh, I'm supposed to be like caring about my kid means focusing on grades and homework and like this track that can have meaning, but also like there's this whole other realm that's out there, and like to have someone talk about that is really relieving. And so that's what I find.
That's awesome. Well, I want to stick to our original 10-minute plan, to our original, like where we were going to end. So, but I want to give you a chance to, kind of shout out your website, and tell people how they could get in touch with you, because this will be up on YouTube afterwards, or people can watch this afterwards. So how do people find you?
Right on. Well, Morgan at playhuge.com is my email, and then playhuge.com is the website. There's all kinds of good stuff there. I am on Facebook, although I have this funny relationship with that whole thing. But I am there. Play Huge Place, I think is what it is, and Morgan Rich. Yeah, and then just really like if you have any interest in what I'm up to, please do give a call and get in touch, in person, and phone, whatever that would be. That's really the way I prefer to do it. Then the social media thing is a little bit wacky for me. But.
Yes, understand. Great. Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us. I know we had some tech difficulties making that connection. Actually, I am taking next week off because I have an event to go to during my Blab time, but I'll be back after that. So I will catch you guys afterwards. And Morgan, once again, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.